Hey guys, this is Mike. On today's episode, we talk with Nicole Papantoniou, the director of the Kitchen Appliances Lab at Good Housekeeping. If you've ever wondered how something gets that Good Housekeeping seal, what it's like to work behind the scenes at a place that reviews all sorts and every kind of kitchen appliance, this is the podcast for you. I've gotten to know Nicole over the past couple of years. She's come to my events in Seattle, and she's great. I always appreciate her insight into what she looks for and what makes a good appliance, how she views technology and what it means to the consumer. And so we talk about all that. It's a fun conversation, so I think you're going to enjoy it. As always, if you haven't already subscribed or reviewed this podcast or others on the Spoon Podcast Network, please do so. We really appreciate it. One podcast you'll really appreciate that just came online is Carolyn O'Neill's interview with Mike Lee. Carolyn is one of these folks that has great insight into nutrition and food, and Mike Lee is this futurist who has a really great lens towards the future. So check that out. It's Watch What You Eat podcast by Carolyn O'Neill. It's a great episode. All right, folks, let's get to my conversation with Nicole Papantoniou. All right, tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, I am Nicole Papantoniou, and I am the director of the Kitchen Appliances Lab at Good Housekeeping.
And I'm super excited to talk to you, Nicole. We've known each other for a while. You've come out to Seattle for the Smart Kitchen Summit. I think we saw each other in Vegas at CES last year. Actually, this year. I was getting mixed up. It was in January.
Who knows what time it is?
And hopefully we'll see you next year. But we were actually in New York just last week getting the tour of your Good Housekeeping Lab, and that was so fun. And so I thought, why don't we just catch up with Nicole on the podcast, and you could tell people what you do for a living.
Yeah. No, I loved having you here so you could see it in real life. It's a really special place. We talk about it a lot, but once you see it, it helps bring it all to life like we were talking about. But basically, the Good Housekeeping Institute is part of the Good Housekeeping brand, and we are located near Columbus Circle in New York City. And our floor we have several labs on the floor, and all of our labs are staffed by experts in the field. So we have a textiles lab that has fiber scientists, and they test things like mattresses and luggages and sneakers. And then in our kitchen appliances lab, we get to be hands-on with all the cooking, drinking, and eating tools and gadgets that you can imagine, anything that touches food. So it's a really fun place where we're testing things side by side, like even bringing them home to see how they work in real kitchens, working with consumers, and really trying to get a 360 view of all these products.
I thought my kitchen was bad in my garage with the amount of gadgets I have just over the past decade that my wife has said, stop it, Mike, stop getting stuff. But my gosh, I was overwhelmed with the amount of things. And you guys are testing them and going through them. And I saw everything from sous vide circulators to smart ovens to lots of different things, ice cream makers, everything was there.
Yeah. And it's not just a matter of like calling it in just to be able to take a picture. We're using these items basically the way someone would use them in their home. Like that's what's most important to us, like really trying to recreate that experience. And then we're testing the products side by side using the same methodology that we've been using for years, unless we've had to like update it because let's say blenders are so much stronger than they were when like the methodology was developed over 20 years ago. But being able to compare things side by side and then understand the ease of use features, we really get a good understanding of how the product works.
So I want to step back because I grew up in America and I'm old at this point, but I remember hearing of Good Housekeeping. I feel like most of my life, I feel like it's one of those things that you've heard of. Hey, this is got the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. Yeah. But for those who maybe don't know about Good Housekeeping, can you give us a little like just kind of elevator pitch or maybe historical description of what it's meant?
So the magazine started in the late 1800s, and then in the early 1900s is basically when products were coming to the market and there's no one really regulating it. Like we were around for like the FDA and the FTC. So really trying to explain to consumers what they should be buying, what they can trust. And that's what the Good Housekeeping Seal is. So that specific program is actually part of an advertising partnership where a brand will say, we want the seal, but you can't just get the seal no matter how much money is behind it. It really has to be something that we stand behind. And what we're doing there is testing it, again, for that performance and ease of use, but also making sure all the claims are accurate and things we can stand by. Because it's actually a part of a warranty program where we're actually putting our own dollars behind it. If something has a seal within a certain amount of time, they can come to us to get a refund. So it's really important. And that's why everything we do in general, we don't write about things that we don't recommend. You won't find us bashing on company. That's not our style. but everything on our site is things that we recommend as a brand and then also as people. Everyone who works here is just very invested in the product and putting out a good review, something that someone can trust.
And when we walked around, it was really cool. We went up to, I don't know what for, in the Hearst building in Manhattan, historic building, historic company. And I think on all the different floors, you talked a little bit about it. There's other magazines because Hearst is a large conglomerate, and a great view of downtown.
Yeah.
But we walked around the floor and there was all these different, and you described it a little bit briefly, all these different spaces where there's like the cleaning testing. There was like a luggage testing area
Oh, yeah.
and like a materials testing area for clothing or whatever. And then you had your kitchen lab. And so I thought that was really cool. Like, and so each person within the Good Housekeeping that runs a specific area, like you're the director of like kitchen appliances. So there's a director of each specific area, right? And they run the testing there.
Exactly. Chemists are in the beauty lab. My background is in product development and recipe development. I went to culinary school, got my degree in journalism. So I have a bunch of different skills that make this work basically. And then we have a mechanical engineer on staff, and he does a lot of our toy testing to making sure things are safe, and also looks at a lot of our parenting content and making sure a stroller is safe. It has the right certifications. We have a home improvement and outdoors lab where that director actually worked as like a roofer for a while, and he has a different perspective and works with a lot of different experts to understand how these large appliances even fit into people's homes and gets them installed. Everyone is very much hands-on with the product and has literally like been in this field for a really long time. Everyone's been doing this for a while.
I think I visited once a long time ago with your predecessor, but we didn't really get the tour like we got with you. And I oftentimes think of Good Housekeeping kitchen stuff as like you're testing all the countertop stuff, but then you showed me this cool kitchen where you actually have, hey, we're going to test Wolf
Yeah.
or whatever kind of built appliances. And what I think is interesting, you just have guys there or
Yeah.
women there or whoever just will install these big giant appliances for you to test, right?
I'm so grateful for our property management team, which basically we get refrigerators, we get ranges. I'm really excited that we were able to build out a space to test induction cooktops recently. And that's something trying to explain to the building why that's important. But we know people want to know how they perform. We know that's not a trend that's going away at all. It's only going to grow. So it's really fun being able to work with them. And it's hilarious. I have a group of 6 people in there working on one oven, and giving me their feedback just from an installation perspective. Again, very grateful for them because I can't do that. And doing it at home would be insane.
So I know that you go through where you're going to test a category, like, hey, we're going to test all the different, let's say, ice cream makers on the market or coffee or whatever. So talk about like how you do that. Do you decide like, hey, we're going to have an issue, or we're going to like test all these and make a recommendation? What is your method, and how do you kind of decide which categories to tackle?
Yeah, so we work 3 months in advance on print and digital. So that means think of summer. Of course, people are going to be searching for ice cream makers. That's another popular season for grills, for example. Traditionally, grills were tested in February, so everything can be in, but honestly, like it's super cold. So for me, I'm like, let's move that out a little bit. I'm working last minute, but still working ahead of the season. And then think of also Q4. People are shopping for Black Friday. People are shopping for the holidays. So we want to make sure our content is up to date. So those are kind of the tent poles that we're looking at. We obviously can't test every single category across the board in one year, but we, for example, just updated our stand mixer story, and we haven't done testing in that category for a little while. So that was really exciting. And even something like bread makers, we know people are looking for it. So we looked at the category again. And then there's also just the more popular categories like air fryers that don't stop selling. Everyone
Yeah,
is
never.
buying. Yeah, they're second
There's
or
new ones
third.
all the time. Yeah.
True. And some people don't even have one yet, which to me is mind boggling because I've been working with them for like 10 years now. But so for a category like that, it's easier to update because we've been testing them for so long. So we can test 2 or 3 new ones at a time versus, for example, if we would do like a side by side test.
And it's interesting that there's always evolution of the categories. So sometimes like you might find it like I noticed in the past couple of years, you've seen the all-in-one countertops where they might have
Mhm.
air fry, steam, might have microwave combined. So are you always on the lookout for the
Yeah.
changing of the categories, and when they do maybe change or add a new feature, try to
Yeah.
get them in?
Yeah, and we're really lucky because we work with brands at Good Housekeeping. So we have a relationship where their press teams will pitch us what's new and what's the latest. And having that open dialogue is really helpful because if we're getting a product in and let's say we found something weird in testing, they can go back to their product manager and see like, is it something we're doing? Is it something with the product? So we really have open communication. We know what's in the pipeline. We know what brands are coming out with. We can get into the nitty gritty that most people wouldn't care about with an engineer, for example. But it's so fun because like we are testing all these different kinds of, let's say, air fryers or espresso machines. And one category in terms of the all-in-one, we had our espresso maker story forever, but now there's a lot of all-in-one espresso machines. So
Yeah.
they can make your
The
cappuccino,
grind and brews. Yeah.
grind and brew. But not only that, like you press your button, you get your cappuccino like you would in an office, for example. So that was a new breakout category that we did because we saw a growing trend. And it's really fun because it's one of my new favorite machines and just want people to know about it and also like explain to them like why they cost so much money, why they should invest in it, is it worth it? And we're always trying to look for something for every consumer, not just the one who wants to shell out top dollar, not just the one who wants the best value, but trying to really deliver to everyone's needs. We don't do like good, better, best. It's more like this might be for you if you're looking for this. This might be for you if you're looking for that.
And I love the evolution of the coffee category. And I think we're
Mhm.
finally starting to see the plastic pods start to go the way of the dinosaur, which is nice because the grinder brews are coming and
Yeah.
even Keurig is starting to move towards more
Yeah.
compostable type of
Yeah.
pods. So
Which will be really
what
fun
are,
when that comes out.
yeah, yeah. So what are some of the other categories that you're excited about in terms of seeing new feature sets or maybe changing or like steam ovens or smart ovens, something you've been looking at, or how about next generation refrigerators? Anything that you're seeing there?
There's so much in the refrigerator world. Like we're always talking about smart refrigerators, but the smart home in particular, seeing it really come to life finally. I feel like there were so many ideas there, but now they're getting really good. And one of Samsung's new fridges, for example, just recognizes what you're putting in or taking out and can tell you a recipe that you should try. Even for me who cooks, I'm like, oh, wait, I didn't think of tofu and broccoli before. So just like little ideas. It's a really seamless experience. You don't have to do anything, and that's really nice. And the way that the appliances are talking to each other easier. It's not as hands on as it has been in the past, which is for me great because I'm not actually technical like in my real life. Here, one thing at home, not so much.
On the fridge side, real quick, it seems like consumers shied away from really tech forward fridges, I think 10 years ago. And, props to Samsung for keeping
Hmm.
on with the family hub and evolving it. Cause I think that dedication to that
Hmm.
category is going to pay dividends. And you're right, it's starting to get there. But are you generally sensing that and are you seeing more interest in, hey, these new smart features like the cameras built in, sensing what's being going in and recommendation, or is it still not on the radar of most average consumers?
I think people know more about it and they're intrigued by it. But I think where smart fridges come into play is where you kind of connect your fridge to an app that helps you understand when to change your water filter, when to troubleshoot or how to troubleshoot the water dispenser, let's say. So I think it's those ways that people are using smart fridges more because it's just kind of second nature at this point. You buy an appliance and you connect it to your phone, and then you have easy access to their customer service. So I think that's the most common way.
So I always like to hear a little bit about the journey and how you
Mhm.
got here, because I think you've been doing this for maybe 5 or 6 years at Good Housekeeping. I'm not,
Yeah, so
is
I've
that
been
right?
here at Good Housekeeping for 6.5 years.
And I think we may have actually bumped into each other when you're still at Chefman. So you came and you were working at a couple brands. So talk a
Mhm.
little bit about how you got to Good Housekeeping, what you did
Sure.
beforehand.
I went to school and I studied journalism, and I knew I wanted to work in magazines. And then my first internship was at Ladies Home Journal. And I remember going into the test kitchen and someone was grilling pineapple and like candying walnuts. And I was like, how do I get that job? Like,
Yeah,
that's
I want to do
incredible.
that. That sounds pretty good.
Seriously. And then from there, the food editor there, who's become a friend over the years, was like, I need someone who has culinary school experience. So I went to culinary school while I was working full time and fell in
Amazing.
love with it. It was so much fun, like so busy, but it's so rewarding. And then from there, I ended up at Cuisinart, and I was there for 4-ish years in their test kitchen, developing products with them and recipes and helping edit user guides. So really this 360 picture that people I don't think that much about unless you're like in this world. Yeah, and then ended up Family Circle, where I was developing recipes as chefman for a little bit, and then here at Good Housekeeping.
I always think Family Circus, the cartoon, when I hear Family Circle, but you weren't working in the cartoon. You were working at Family
Nope,
Circle,
at
but
the magazine.
that's super interesting. You did make a detour. And did you think working at the Cuisinarts of the world, working at a brand and seeing product development at Chefman, for example, did that help you in your job today, you think?
100%. So when you're working at a brand, you're working with so many different departments, like your engineers, your marketing team, your sales team, like the CEO who might have like you're just trying to cater to everyone really. So especially like at Cuisinart, learning about making sure the sales team is educated, making sure the recipes and the booklets work the way they're supposed to, working with the engineers who come up with something. And this is across the board where an engineer will come up with something really exciting and then you kind of have to hone it in and let them know like this might not work in like a real consumer's kitchen. So all of those facets just really give you the full view of how it all works. So that helps me in my role now in the sense of like, oh, there's been a change to this product. Was that a cost related reason? Was this because a lot of customers were complaining that something was dangerous? Like it's just a different lens that I can offer because I kind of have the behind the scenes experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting journey. We saw you at CES. You weren't in IFA. When I was at CES, I saw a few robots, but at IFA, it was crazy. There's probably 10 humanoid robots, and I saw at least 4 or 5 of them doing stuff in the kitchen. I don't know. Can you imagine a day when maybe Good Housekeeping is testing the robots, testing the equipment? Or when you think about the job in the future, what do you see coming 10 years down the road? What you might be testing?
So funny. I never thought about that. And my initial response is no, but that would actually be amazing to be able to basically standardize things, even because there's always human error in anything you do. So for a robot to be able to do that over and over again, and it would save a lot of times because what we do is so tedious and the weighing out of veggies for a juicer, like it has to be so particular, the data that we're logging. Like there's some things that would actually be amazing if we had a robot to help us out with.
It's funny. I talked at the beginning how I remember Good Housekeeping back to my childhood, and it's a testament to the brand that it has such
Mhm.
resonance to this day. But we're in you're watching as the media environment evolves, right? And I've been in the media space for a while, and even going back to 2008 when I started working for a tech blog, like
Mhm.
those seem like the horse and buggy days compared to today, right? I feel like, and then you're working at like this big, you work at Hearst, which is like 100+ year old media company. How do you see the evolving media environment for things like what you do, testing stuff? It does seem like there's obviously a lot more influencers testing stuff, and kind of people are
Yeah.
taking cues from them. But how do you kind of see Good Housekeeping's place in the modern media world?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And it's funny to me because people will ask me, like, are you like an influencer? And I always have to restrain myself in how I answer. And like, the influencers are doing incredible jobs of basically owning their content and their brand. But you think about, like, I think people forget that, like, when we went to journalism school, we're trained in this and we are doing this all day long. So it's like, I don't want to say the original influencer, but we have a gigantic reach and it's different. Like, and it's really fun. But at the same time, like all media brands, just the push towards video and social, I think, is like really important and showing off more of what we're doing. And also just trusting our gut more. We've been like, for example, like my team, we're in it so much and we almost forget what's exciting. So just really going back to our journalism roots of like, what do people want to read? What do people want to see? What are they not exposed to? And really just coming out with content that is interesting to people and isn't just answering a search query, for example, like really trying to give more of our expertise and showing that off more.
Who do you see as your competitors? Is it Consumer Reports? Is it New York Times? I mean,
Yeah,
who?
It's Consumer Reports, for example, they have a different, like they're behind a paywall, so it's like a little bit different from us, but other people in the industry who are doing what we're doing, like of course Wirecutter is testing. I love like the way America's Test Kitchen tests. So I'm lucky. I'm not in a position where I have to worry about competitors. I kind of get to like just learn from people because that's the beauty of being in journalism. Like I don't deal with any of the money or any of the transactions.
When you're looking forward to the next 5 to 10 years, what are you most excited about in terms of kitchen appliances? I mean,
Mhm.
we talked a little bit about the future like robots, but like what else are you excited about as
Mhm.
we see space evolving?
We're coming off of Climate Week, which I think this is even why it's even more fresh in my head. But one thing that I've been loving is brands really putting a lot of effort into creating a long lasting product. And I think that is the answer to sustainability versus coming out the latest and greatest healthy pan. And I say that in quotes because I hate that term. But going back to the roots, a stainless steel pan doesn't have any coating. You could use it forever. And people are learning about that. So, like, people becoming more educated about like the greenwashing that takes place. I think we're moving in the right direction. I think thinking about the way things are made, thinking about quality. And I think that's all happening. Like, I think brands learn that like you can't just push out a product that's cheap
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm glad to see that kind of went away. Obviously, you could still get a good value product at a lower price point, but I think people are realizing that they want to hold on to things for longer. What's a smarter choice for their family and just
Yeah.
the environment?
I was just talking to Tiffany, who's with me and with you at the tour, and
Mhm.
I was looking at my pan, which you
Mhm.
and I go, Nicole is kind of harsh on these pans. Like I guess she does it for a living. I thought this was a good pan, but I guess not. But
Yeah, when you're pressing them side by side, you see all the
you
differences.
see all the differences, all the warts, and all the things. And so I'm writing an article this morning about how I'm starting to see smart home integrate with like wellness to a greater degree. And there's a startup in at IFA called Ultrahuman that connects the smart home with air quality. Also, they do glucose sensors. And then I saw a product today that actually alerts you or can send an alert to your alarm if your like glucose spikes. And so
Mhm.
I think this intersection of wellness and the kitchen is really interesting. And I think that we're going to see more and more. I think that's maybe a really interesting area for innovation and maybe
Mhm.
an area for good housekeeping to maybe dive deeper into over time.
Yeah, and you have to like be a little bit careful because the last kitchen and bath show I went to, where that's really my chance to see a lot of the larger appliance brands, there's a big focus on keeping your produce fresher for longer. But it's all really great because you want your fridge to do that, but also understanding, is it just marketing or does it actually work? So
Yeah,
those
yeah, for sure.
things have always front of my mind, basically.
Yeah, whenever time you get into wellness, going to make sure it's not snake oil and make sure that
Exactly.
it's. But I think the democratization of things like I'm wearing right now, like an over the counter
Mhm.
continuous glucose monitor, that's really enlightening to see your signals from your body like glucose in real time. So I think I'm interested to see where that goes. Another thing I remember during the visit was meeting. I was amazed. Your coworkers are already impressive, but I think maybe the most impressive was I think her name was Carolyn Forte, and she's
Yeah.
literally been working at Good Housekeeping since I think like 1980. Like that's super impressive. The longevity of workers. I mean, she must have all this institutional knowledge.
Well, it's incredible, and it was funny because not I say this all the time, even when she is there, but I didn't realize she was there. And she's like, I became a part of the tour at this point. But I think it's really like it's really a testament to the brand and even the way like we all work together. Like she loves what she does so much, and even at this point, like so like excited about it and seeing what's out there and still making sure things are new and people are still wanting to read it. So it's really inspiring, I think, to like all of us that like if you're doing what you love, it's that theory, you never work a day in your life. Whereas for us, it's like you're literally working all the time. Because even me, when I go home to cook, which is my favorite thing to do, I'm still kind of working because how can I not judge the pan or the stove? But yeah, we live it, we breathe it, and are just really passionate about it. And it excites us. It's like it's not just a job for most of us, I would say.
Yeah, for you, I mean, the fact that you went back to culinary school because you wanted so bad to fuse this world of journalism and kitchen and culinary, I think is really interesting. And that's such a great backstory. If you
Yeah.
were giving advice to someone who wants to follow a career path where they're getting into editorial around food or kind of what's happening in the kitchen. I mean, with the caveat, like the world's changing so fast with AI, et cetera, coming down the pike. What would you tell them?
Oh my goodness.
That's a tough question, I know.
I think honestly, like getting as much experience as you can with people who are in the field, like saying yes to things, taking on different experiences, working hard is really important. And I don't like so many people can interpret that differently, but I just like for me, the most rewarding things, and like I don't necessarily recommend this because it's almost like a different time, but there was one point that I was working for 4 different jobs at once. I had a full-time job and then was doing side gigs, but like I loved it. And I was catering, I was working full time, I was doing demos on the side. So that was just fun for me. And I got to see so much. And I feel like, especially when you're out of school and you have the energy, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's a young person's game, doing 4 gigs at once.
Yeah. And saying yes to things and just like being nice to people. And like that'll get you far.
That's great advice.
100%. Just be nice and say yes, and then you'll find what you're looking for. And also talking about what you're looking for, because I don't think when you're in school, people talk about networking and how important that is your whole life. But it's amazing. One of my first bosses was like, I'll probably work for you one day. And that was mind boggling. I could not even picture that, but it's true. You're with these people for the rest of your life and you don't even realize it. So yeah.
It's so different. I think about, I mean, I was coming up a long time ago and I remember doing informational interviews, for example. I don't even know if kids do informational interviews. I do think, and maybe to the credit of the younger generation, there's a lot more just doing free stuff just to try to get experience.
Right.
I still feel like you should do that. I don't like the idea of not paying interns. I always pay my interns, but when I was coming up, there was always people trying to do free internships or trying to get people to work for them for free. But like, it's just a different culture now.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think that you need to do it for free anymore. I think a lot of people know that and respect your time and want you to get paid for that. And it's important to like align with people who will keep moving you forward. Also, not being afraid to walk away. We are afraid that we might not land the next job, but that's not how life works. Like if you're unhappy somewhere, you shouldn't stick it out. Like I don't think that's how the world works anymore. There's a lot out there. There really is. And a lot of people doing really cool things. So tagging along is fun.
All right. Well, if people want to check out your work, Nicole, where can they find it?
On goodhousekeeping.com. It'll all be there.
That's pretty easy. That's real easy. Well, I always love chatting with you, Nicole. Thanks for spending time with me today.
Thank you. Take care.
That was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I always enjoy talking to Nicole. Stay tuned for our next podcast, which should just be out in a couple of days, where we talk to 2 experts who really understand the evolution of AI and where we are. It's not necessarily a food-centric conversation, but one that just kind of gets us all caught up on what's happening on this technology that's changing so many things. All right, folks, we'll talk to you soon.
If you enjoyed this episode, why not share it with a friend? And don't forget to give us a 5-star review. You'll find more content like this on thespoon.tech/podcasts.